On a summer morning in 1948, a peculiar discovery sent chills down the spines of the people of Adelaide, Australia. A man lay lifeless on Somerton Beach. He was dressed in a suit, as if ready for a day in the city. But something was amiss. The labels on his clothes were missing. His pockets held a used bus ticket, a pack of chewing gum, and a few other unremarkable items. There was no wallet, no identification. He was a complete enigma. The police were baffled. Who was this well-dressed man? And what were the circumstances of his death? An autopsy revealed no signs of poison or violence. It seemed like a case of natural causes, perhaps a heart attack. But something about the case didn't sit right. Was it the missing labels? Or the strange, peaceful expression on the man's face? The mystery of the Somerton Man, as he came to be known, had begun. The police released a photograph of the deceased, hoping someone would come forward to identify him. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the man's identity remained a mystery. The case took an even stranger turn when a small piece of paper was found tucked away in a hidden pocket of the man's trousers. It read, Tamam Shud, which means finished or ended in Persian. It was a phrase found in the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a collection of Persian poetry. The discovery of the Tamam Shud note only deepened the mystery. Was it a suicide note? Or was there a more sinister explanation? The police launched a nationwide search for the copy of the Rubaiyat from which the note had been torn. The search led them to a man who claimed to have found a copy of the book discarded in his car. On the back of the book, written in faint pencil, was a series of letters that appeared to be a code. The discovery of the coded message sent a ripple of excitement through the investigation. Could this be the key to unlocking the Somerton Man's identity? Code breakers from across Australia and even the United States were called in to decipher the message. They pored over the letters, analyzing their sequence and patterns, but the code proved to be incredibly complex, and despite their best efforts, it remained unbroken. Years turned into decades, and the Somerton Man case grew colder. The Tamam Shud note and the coded message became the subject of intense speculation. Some believed they were the work of a scorned lover, while others suspected a spy ring or even a secret society. Theories abounded, but none could be definitively proven. The Somerton Man's body was buried in Adelaide's West Terrace Cemetery, his real name still unknown. His grave became a site of pilgrimage for amateur sleuths and conspiracy theorists, all drawn to the enduring mystery of his life and death. The case, once a local curiosity, had captured the imagination of the world, but despite the passage of time, the Somerton Man remained an enigma. The lack of concrete answers in the Somerton Man case fueled a firestorm of speculation. Theories ranged from the mundane to the outlandish. Some believed the Somerton Man was a Cold War spy, silenced by a rival agency. Others pointed to the coded message and the Tamam Shud note as evidence of a love affair gone wrong. One of the most persistent theories centered around a woman named Jessica Thompson, who lived just a few streets away from where the Somerton Man's body was found. When shown a plaster cast of the Somerton Man's face, Thompson had a strange reaction. She seemed to recognize him, but refused to provide any information to the police. To this day, her connection to the Somerton Man remains a subject of intense debate. Theories about the Somerton Man's identity and the circumstances surrounding his death continued to circulate for decades. Books were written, documentaries were filmed, and countless online forums were dedicated to unraveling the mystery. But the truth, it seemed, was lost to time. Section 4. The DNA Breakthrough. In 2022, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source: DNA technology. Professor Derek Abbott, a researcher at the University of Adelaide, had become fascinated by the Somerton Man case. Abbott believed that DNA analysis, which had advanced significantly in the decades since the man's death, could hold the key to unlocking his identity. Abbott and his team obtained strands of the Somerton Man's hair from the plaster cast that had been made of his head. Using cutting-edge DNA sequencing techniques, they were able to extract a complete DNA profile. This profile was then uploaded to GEDmatch, a public DNA database, in the hope of finding any living relatives. After months of analysis and cross-referencing with genealogical data, Abbott and his team finally received a breakthrough. They identified a potential match, a distant relative living in the United States. Further investigation led them to a man named Carl Webb, who had been born in Melbourne in 1905. Webb's birth date and physical description aligned with what little was known about the Somerton Man. Section 5. The Somerton Man Unmasked. The identification of Carl Webb as the Somerton Man sent shockwaves through the world. After 74 years of mystery, the man found on Somerton Beach finally had a name. But the discovery, while groundbreaking, only raised more questions. Who was Carl Webb, and what led him to that beach in Adelaide? Records revealed that Webb was an electrical engineer and instrument maker who had lived a relatively unremarkable life. He had been married, but was estranged from his wife at the time of his death. There was no obvious connection to espionage, secret societies, or any of the other elaborate theories that had sprung up over the years. The discovery of Webb's identity brought a sense of closure to the Somerton Man case, but it also highlighted the enduring power of mystery. Even with the advancements in technology and the tireless efforts of investigators and amateur sleuths, some secrets refuse to be fully revealed. Section 6. Lingering questions. The Somerton Man case, once a symbol of unanswerable questions, had finally yielded its biggest secret, the man's identity. Yet, the revelation brought with it a new wave of intrigue. What was Carl Webb doing in Adelaide, far from his home in Melbourne? Why were the labels cut from his clothes, and what was the meaning of the Tamam Shud note and the coded message? Did Carl Webb stage his own death, or was he the victim of foul play? The answers, it seems, remain elusive. Was Carl Webb a man running from his past, seeking a new beginning? Or was he caught in a web of circumstances beyond his control? The Somerton Man case may be officially closed, but the mystery of Carl Webb's life and death continues to captivate and intrigue.